Today we're talking about the 9 cardinal principles of weight loss. This is a revisit since the original video back in 2015. This is a very important topic, one that needs to be called to mind from time to time. All of these principles are due a heavy emphasis being put upon them because they are true for all people. They're true for all ways of weight loss, and they are not to be forgotten. We're going to see exactly how as we proceed forward. Cardinal principle number 1. A calorie is a calorie is a calorie. Calories in, calories out is still true. The concept has come under attack these days because you have those in the nutrition and dieting and science communities that are kind of getting a little bit too hung up on the fact that your body chemically processes and how it processes. Some will point out that the role of insulin and hormones affect storage of fat, which is of course true, but it doesn't matter because ultimately your body plays a chemical quota game. The calories that you give it will determine based on the amount of calories you have taken in, will determine how much you pee out, how much you store as fat, how much you store in your glycogen reserves, like your muscles, which store calories, and your liver, which stores the bulk of your calories. All of those things are variables. However, they do not change the tempo of what we're talking about. They do not stop the fact that calories in, calories out is still true. So while it may be the case that eating 3,000 calories of broccoli is very hard versus eating 3,000 calories of chocolate, it's still possible. And that's where we're going here. Lipogenesis is the process of storing sugar as fat. It's very hard to do, which is why if you just eat fruit, you will find that you don't get fat, unless you combine it with things that don't chemically mix well, like fats and like proteins. This, of course, is why the standard American diet is so very bad, because it mixes all of these competing fuel sources and results in very often weight gain. But the body cannot be fooled. It knows based on how you eat and the amount you eat, how much you're eating. Do not make the mistake of thinking your body can be tricked. Things that do not break down as calories will not allow for weight gain. So that is a very important truth to keep in mind. Calories in, calories out is still true. This is why the fat you eat is the fat you wear, cliche though it may be, is still true. If you go out and you eat a lot of fat and you consume too much, which is very easy to do because fat is very calorie dense, you will gain body fat. And if you eat a lot of sugar, it will be harder to do, but if you eat wrongly, which most people do, again with the standard American diet, you will gain weight. Why is this so important? Because you should never listen to someone who tells you that calories in, calories out is not a factor. It's absolutely a factor, as are all of the other components we're talking about. Metabolism, hormonal regularity, all of those things affect weight loss, but they don't change the fact that no matter what you push, it's going to affect the end product. If you're consuming too many calories than you burn off, and you're going to store them on your body. If you're consuming not enough, you're going to lose. It doesn't matter how long it takes you or other problems you may be facing, other eating challenges you may be up against. Calories in, calories out is still true. Now, sometimes it's worth bringing up here that some people get confused about how whether or not fasting and calorie counting are the same thing. Folks, they're both the same thing. There's a little bit of difference, and intermittent fasting is a better way to go about calorie restriction, but you're going to end up having to restrict calories if you want to lose weight. That's a fact. So quit trying to distinguish between the two, which a lot of people do on a lot of different channels. It's just incorrect. Ultimately, your body's keeping track every single moment of how much you consume, and your reset is your sleep. When you sleep, you wake up, you have a new daily caloric balance to draw from. This is not new stuff, folks. It is very old, it is very tried, and it is very true, and there is simply no reason to doubt it. Do not listen to anyone who does not acknowledge this. Cardinal principle number 2, it costs calories to be and to stay big. Now, this is one of those things that you forget. And sometimes it's a little bit counterintuitive. I made up a term some time ago, stone gut theory. Stone gut theory is the feeling that fat cells will never go away. You may look back on your dieting history and you may get frustrated and you think, no, this gut, this midsection's never going to go away. Or these thighs, these arms, the little flab here is never going to go away. Well, in reality, it absolutely can. But you are unwilling to wait and see the fruits of your labor. The bigger you are, the more you have to eat to stay that way. When you see someone in public who's around 400, 500 pounds, they ain't getting that way and staying that way by not eating. They're eating and they're drinking, and they're doing so regularly enough so that they're actually able to maintain that weight. It can't be any other way. It's not like they got the fat on their body and then now they can't get it off. You can get it off, but it's you're continually putting more on. But you forget that, especially if you're struggling with your weight and you have a history of yo-yo dieting and you've failed so many times. Now, conversely, the skinnier you are, even skinny fat, the harder it is to see weight loss progress. Why? Well, same principle. Your body, it runs on less calories the thinner you are. So if you have some midsection visceral fat, it's going to take more dedication and more time to get it off because your body is burning less calories, which is why when you start losing as a big person, you drop a lot of weight very quickly and then it slows down. We forget this. That's why you struggle so much. That's why this principle is so very important. So how long does it take to shrink your fat cells? Your fats, in reality, fat stores shrink with weight loss and disappear altogether in about 10 years. You've heard it said that fat cells never go away. That's not quite true. They do go away, and I'm going to link in the notes a study, a scientific study there, which shows that. But that involves you staying in control of your weight all that time, because when you think about 10 years, that's a large chunk of your life, and it reminds you, it humbles you, and makes you understand what we're going to revisit later on about needing to be in control, never allowing yourself to be out of control of your weight, because your fat cells will stay with you a long time and they will expand the more you're out of control, and they will shrink the more you watch your weight and you manage your body. Based on, of course, cardinal principle number 1, calories in, calories out. But that's something you have to stay on top of, but it is the case that it costs calories to be and to stay big. This is such an important principle that I have it as a separate point here. Cardinal principle number 3, you will eat what is around you. Now, this is perhaps the most confusing one or the most misunderstood one on this list, and I'm going to explain why. This does not just mean you will eat what is around you, meaning if you bring bad food home, you're going to eat it. It means that, but it means more. It means that your foods are relationships like any other relationship you have with people or things in your life, healthy or unhealthy. But jump to the bottom real quick. Here's the application. Basically, your relationships with foods determine what is around you. So if you're the type to go out and buy Oreos and Chips Ahoy and junk food and you bring it around, and I come over to your house and I look through your pantry, by looking through it, I can see where your head is. Much the same way the job you have, the language you use, the income you make, all of those things are indicators of where you are in life. They're your karma, basically. And that's the way it is with food. So when you have an unhealthy relationship with food, you surround yourself with bad things. When you have a good relationship with food, you tend to surround yourself with good things, or else you have a balance between healthy and unhealthy foods. People that are in a low point in their health struggle with weight, struggle with health conditions. They also have a relationship with unhealthy foods, what we call unhealthy foods. So please make this distinction. You will seek out wholesome or unwholesome foods. You will do so based on your relationship with the foods. So let's take an analogy. And this, of course, puts a lot of things, I think, in perspective if you understand it clearly. A man or a woman wants to cheat. He or she decides that their spouse at home is just too boring. They want to live a little. So they go out and they get a partner and they start committing adultery. They meet someone on Tinder, one of these crazy apps, and they go out and they start cheating. And they get a room at Motel 6 or wherever. And finally, they have to confront the fact that they're not willing to bring this person home to meet their spouse. Well, of course they wouldn't, because the spouse is already there. If they wanted the spouse, they would just keep going as they're going. But they need that excitement. They need that naughtiness out to the side here. So they won't bring home the mistress, but they'll keep the mistress out there. That's the way some of you view your foods. You have, quote, bad foods, and you have, quote, good foods. And so you say, I should do this, but I am doing this. And you have a dichotomy with your foods. There's a lack of balance. Good foods must not be held in overly high regard. Bad foods must not be completely eliminated. So let me tell you how this applies. You will eat what is around you means, again, it's an indication of your relationships, just the same way as any healthy or unhealthy relationship you've ever struggled with or ever will struggle with. But here's what this means. Let's say this video finds you today, and you went out and decided to let yourself go. You went out, you bought a bunch of cookies or cupcakes, and you faced the same depressing dilemma of, I'm just going to give up because I don't feel like I'm able to do this. The way to redeem yourself, to really apply what I'm telling you here, is to go, don't throw it away. If somebody's around, you want to give it to them, you can, but take one. Let's say you ordered some cupcakes and you realize this is a terrible food. This is a terrible food choice. What you can do is take one of those cupcakes, make your daily one meal, prepare it, and put that one cupcake on the plate. Why do I tell you that? Because that addresses the real problem that you're having. Your inability to balance, your inability to make good choices, and your inability to sustain a proper relationship between good and bad. This is why I say all foods must be relegated to their proper place. No need to clean out the pantry. I've long said on this channel, you don't go through and do food overhauls and start getting rid of stuff. That's what leads to dieters' hell. That's what leads to the disaster that is chronic dieting, where you get rid of stuff and then you bring other stuff back in and you get sick of it and you throw it away. If you really want to master everything I'm telling you today, you have the ability right now to go eat one potato chip or one Kit Kat bar and no more. And the rest, finish off the rest of your meal and go throughout your day as normal. Do you have that ability right now? If you don't, then you need to take a long, hard look at Cardinal Principle number 3. You will eat what is around you, and your relationships will determine what is around you. Look at that. Take a long, hard look of it. It's like looking at yourself right now and asking yourself why you're not rich. Well, your past, the best predictor of future results is your past. And it's this same thing that you can, if you didn't do it yesterday, you're probably not going to do it today. But you can look at this principle and digest what I'm telling you here, and you can solve that problem by having around you a perfect example of good choices. Now, if you're where you need to be, you still have some unhealthy foods in your life. Because unhealthy is a buzzword that nobody can agree on anyway. But if you understand that, you understand that food has never been bad. And the food has never been good. It's always a great, great thing when you make the choice and you stay in control. So please don't forget this principle. This is a very misunderstood thing, or a thing that else people learn and then tend to forget. Cardinal Principle number 4, losing weight is a lesser of evil's business. Get ready for a rough ride, I always say. A shot to the top is not a straight shot. Because if you're out of health, if you're at a point of obesity or health problems that come therewith, or all of the above, you got there making certain choices to capitalize on our last point, our last principle. That's going to take time to reverse. And I'll never forget, my mother forgot her purse years ago and had to go back. Well, we were driving to Nixon, Texas, and that's a long way from San Antonio. It's 60 miles or something. And you get there and you think, oh, I got to turn around and go back. Oh, well, we forgot it. You have to make that decision. Am I going to go the rest of the way and just say, we'll get it next time? Oh, no, I need it. My medication is in that purse. So you got to turn around and you got to go back. When you make a negative turn in life, you have to pay that karma back. So your redemption will come in understanding that it will involve a lot of pain. It will involve lesser of evils. It will involve a struggle. If you do what a lot of fake dieting guru people do, they'll promise that you can do it perfectly and your body will be in a state of low stress and all. You can't do that. because the journey itself is a lesser of evils business. If you have weight to lose, that involves hunger, that involves self-control, it involves maturity, it involves making good decisions, it involves being willing to manage your stress levels and emotions. I could go on all day. Everyone's journey will involve mental and physical repair to your metabolism, your body composition, and your mind/habits. Because not having those things is what brought you to right now. I liken it to crutches. You broke your leg, you got to walk on crutches a while. Yeah, sure, you got the cast, you got the pain relievers, but your body has to continue to get you well, and then you got to gradually start putting weight back on that leg. You can't do it too soon because you'll just break it again, and you'll delay the healing. It might involve, the journey to health might involve things like artificial sweeteners. It might involve a few false stops along the way and starts. It might involve you failing and learning about yourself. The point is, there are certain things that, quote, aren't good for you that you sometimes have to do to improve. And that's the difference between stress and eustress. Stress is harmful because it's negative, but eustress is like the stress you get from exercise. And it has a temporary harmful effect, but then you recover from it. So if you don't over-exercise, you can always recover, and that allows you to be able to sustain your body and put it in a state of repair. So the healing process involves stages: weight loss, weight maintenance, and muscle building. And that's true, the last one. Muscle building is true even while you're losing weight, because your body does release growth hormone. Even as you're at a calorie deficit, you will still, as you continue to be more health mindful, you'll continue to head toward that. First of all, your goal is just to lose the fat. Don't confuse your goals. It's to lose the fat and then to transition into weight maintenance, to be comfortable experimenting with different foods, a la principle number 3. Having a healthy balance between relationships. And then finally, you optimize. You start running, you start doing push-ups, you start bringing in exercise that shows what you're capable of and brings you to your best version. I don't like to talk too much about best versions because I know that's very overused in the self-help community. I don't want to jump in that crowd. But it's still nonetheless true. Losing weight is a lesser of evils business. Please don't pretend it's pretty. What you did getting here was not pretty, and it will be rough getting out. No food purism here, no idealism. That doesn't exist in the real world. You will undergo hardship. Cardinal principle number 5. Pay your hunger debt, and you will never owe your body anything. Now, once you have made peace with hunger, then you've paid the debt. Let me repeat that. Once you've made peace with hunger, you've paid the debt. So in other words, the power of this principle is that once you treat it, your eating, like a business transaction, and you agree to certain terms, much the same way you would if you worked for an employer, you will achieve the peace that you want. Take, for instance, your job. Let's assume you make an hourly wage. You go to work. When you started work, you agreed to be paid X dollars an hour to do a certain job for 40 hours a week. Or maybe it's part-time. You said, I'm going to only do it 25 hours a week or less. The fact that you created that understanding is what allowed you to accept that job in the first place. In the same way, when you go to rebuild your eating habits, and improve your life, you take control by having a certain understanding that is beneficial to both parties. It's beneficial in this case to your body, and it's beneficial to your mind. Whereas if you ignore this principle and you only eat when you're hungry, or you eat until you are full, or you eat in a way that is not constructive and conducive to a better version of you, you self-destruct and you regret it later. You look in the mirror at your fat thighs and butt and you say, I just am terrible. I just can't improve. I just can't get things right. That comes from not having an understanding of this principle. Because both deficiency and excess cause suffering. Both deficiency and excess cause suffering. If you're too deficient, you've not taken care of yourself. And if you're in excess, you've let yourself go. Both extremes are bad. But when you make an agreement, when you have an understanding, it's like clearing up an argument. It's like having it out with a person you're mad at and coming to an understanding between that person. The freedom from debt gives you back all sorts of positive energy and power and allows you to take control in a way that you otherwise would not. Now watch for scarcity mindset, because actually when you're binging, when you're going on those purity rants where you say, I deserve to be able to eat until I'm full. I shouldn't have to think about this. I should be able to just let myself go. That's not abundance talking. That's scarcity mindset talking. And this channel has had a lot to say about scarcity mindset and how devastating it is, because it masquerades as abundance. But it's not. When you are overeating, you're falling into scarcity mindset. This food, I can't let it go to waste. I've got to have it. I need it. Without realizing there's always more food. And you've got plenty of food on your body right now. Which is why a proper understanding of principle number 5 is to have an understanding. And if you're fasting, you have an understanding in place that says, here's what I'm allowed to eat. Here's when I'm allowed to eat it. And I'm not going to eat more, and I'm not going to eat less. Regardless of how I feel that day, regardless of how motivated I am or am not, I have an understanding. That's what principle number 5 says. It allows you to understand stability and put it into practice and make peace with an eating window that will be recurrent and can be with you forever. It will be with you forever if you will allow it. If you will allow yourself to have a pattern that your higher being can trust, rather than following urges or allowing yourself to lose control, which is what has been always hurting you for all of this time. Cardinal principle number 5 cannot be forgotten. Cardinal principle number 6, you are more productive empty than full. Now this is where long-term success really takes off. You have to reverse your paradigm, because for all of most people's dieting adventures, what they try to do is they try to make the dieting process easy. Per principle number 4, they try to make it to where it's very easy and accommodating, that it's not a lesser of evil thing. No, it is. And you have to really be successful for the long term. You have to reverse your paradigm. You have to understand that you're more productive when you're not full. So empty has to be your new full. I don't know how you want to beat that into your head, but you need to beat it into your head. The most honest form of work is really commission work. You don't sell, you don't get paid. So it's like a hunter. You go out and hunt, you don't catch something, you don't eat. We live in a society today where there's too much food, not enough activity, and it's all over the place, because even if you're a bum, you're right next to people, like an intersection. You can go and beg, and all of these bums can get what they need. Even bums with families will very often, in the vast majority of cases, be well fed just by taking certain measures. Look at what Warren Buffett said, and I've talked about this in other videos. Do the opposite of unsuccessful people. Take a look at the least successful people. And do what Warren Buffett said. He said, do the opposite of them. When you see someone who's a failure, who's broke, who's not able to manage themselves, their lives, look at and note all of the things that they do. Give up quickly. Keep your knowledge level low. Get frustrated and allow vices to consume you. Waste your money on non-essentials. Serve yourself and not others. Make a big list of all of the least successful people around you, including failed dieters. The lazy people, I just want an easy ride, I want an easy way to do it, I want a cheat way to do it, I want a quick way to do it, the get rich quick crowd. Take all of them and do the opposite. And that's what this principle really is all about. You are more productive empty than full, because what happens when you go to work at lunch and you eat a big lunch and come back? You're not as productive anymore. Your eyes start glossing over, you start rubbing your eyes and laying back in your chair, assuming you have a desk job. You get the point. This is a powerful principle because it reminds you of something that you don't want to be reminded about. You're more productive when you don't have what you want as opposed to what you do. You try harder, you strive more, and your job now is to manage that process on a daily basis with your fasting to be able to say, here's what I can have. The more empty I am, the better I feel. You get the most done. You're of more value to others rather than when you're stuffed and you're full. Cardinal principle number 7, it is never allowable to not have in place a weight control system. This is one that people have a problem with because it's not a natural thing, and it's not necessarily true for everyone. There are people that you and I know that will never have trouble with their weight. I knew a guy who used to fix my AC. He was about 72 years old, and he was skinny as a rail. And we got to talking about weight loss, and he told me this story. And he said, I've tried for years to put on weight. I've never been able to. But of course, he was 72 and still working, and he loved to work with his hands, and he was very healthy. But he's not like most people. And this is not obvious, which is what stresses people out, because we love to think that all of the lessons for us are in nature. But the problem is we're at the top of the food chain, and in order to get to the top of the food chain, you have to be smart. And so this is why you can't listen to people who are looking for the perfect diet for man. I hear this on all sorts of YouTube videos. Food purists left and right. If you just eat oranges, it's a perfect diet for man. If you just eat steak and beef and raw liver and all of this crap, that's the perfect diet for man. There's no perfect diet for man because, again, your relationship with your foods is the relationship with yourself, and that mirrors back. Our world is not the same because food is in abundance. So, again, we're reaching back to the fact that no generation has faced the problems that this generation faces. Because we have too much food, not enough activity, and we have, unfortunately, leaders in the health communities that do not recognize the power of intermittent fasting, of eating once a day, of exerting self-control. Instead, they're trying to placate, and they're trying to just prescribe medications to fix what can be fixed with diet about 95% of the time, which is sad. But I'm talking to you trainers out there. I'm talking to you nutritionists, those of you who say, well, you should never do anything. Don't worry about it. Don't be too stressed out. No, it's absolutely a stressful thing, per other principles here. But this is why this is so important. You always have to be in control, per principles number 1 and 2. I told you we'd come back to those. It's up to you to stay in charge. It's up to you to master your routine. And it's never okay to not have a system of eating in place. And of course, all of the periods of your life where you've ever gained any weight, you have to confront the fact that you did that because you went to sleep. You said, I don't care about that now. I'm going to spend the rest of the month binge drinking with my buddies. I'm going to spend the rest of the year partying, and then I'll start again when January rolls around. That's the sort of thinking that puts you up a pant size. That's the sort of thinking that has you looking in the mirror and being absolutely disgusted because you did something that you could have truly prevented had you just woken up your inner beast and called upon that power. But you didn't do it. Instead, you decided to choose to violate principle number 7. And this is true even when you're splurging. The beauty of a splurge day is you're not out of control when you're having a splurge day because you know it's a splurge day. Are you hearing what I'm saying here? Does this make sense? I hope it does because I think I'm laying it on you pretty clearly. Cardinal principle number 8, every little step is a step forward. Sounds obvious, I know. Sounds like something you'd see on a Hallmark card or something. But the order of progress is one that is positive. It involves self-control first, it involves healthier eating, it involves exercise, and then it involves better living, aka accomplishing your higher functions, your more spiritual functions, if you will. But you cannot rush it. So what do? You go back and you first take self-control. You go to the first one on the list. I'm just going to get in control now. What do I need to do today? I need to eat once and not again. I need to understand that every time someone asks me to go to Taco Bell or Midnight Rodeo or Texas Steakhouse, I don't have to go there and pig out. That's the first step. And every little step is a step forward. Recognizing a step forward is hit or miss because we don't. And this is what's so discouraging. You want to know? I'll give you some wisdom today that's worth at least $100 and it's free. A true step forward is when you normalize behavior from a pattern you started out resisting. So let's take a bizarre example, cold showers. You get up in the morning and it's freezing and you say, there's no way I can do that. So you struggle to take a shower in the cold, and it is awfully hard to where you think you're insane for even trying. But you go through with it, you do that for the next few days, you have a few setbacks, but it gets gradually easier. Until one day comes along, 65, 70, 80, 90 days later, where you don't do that and you miss it. Because you created a new pattern and you determined that the discomfort that your old you allowed to be consistent is no longer going to work. And you said, here's what we do. Admittedly, that's an extreme example. So let's go back to something easy. Just controlling yourself to one plate of food. It is hard, but it's not impossibly hard. And once you normalize the steps you take in your eating, the food that you bring around you, the food that you buy, you realize how insanely easy this ultimately is once your mind is prepared to acknowledge principle number 8. Every little step is a step forward. That's the nature of growing. That's the nature of making more money. That's the nature of progress. It's the nature of a humble little snowball rolling down a hill. Cardinal principle number 9, your mind will play tricks on you. Like a starving person dying of thirst who sees a stream in the desert just before he's going to die and runs up to it and finds that there's no stream there. Even so, your mind will put up one last-ditch effort to keep you from succeeding. Perceived health conditions very often arise during a successful fast. You start to feel like you can't do it. Mentally, you experience feelings of defeat and depression, and you start to falter under the weight of all of the barriers that you have to cross. I have a video which I did years ago which talked about a guy who would, every time he would try to fast, he would feel like he had the flu. And he said, it's just too much, I just can't do it. That's the barrier that you need to cross. That's the thing that's been keeping you from success. Your mind will play tricks on you. It will play psychological games. It will make you have a pity party for yourself. It will make you feel like you just can't do it. You're not meant to count. All of the self-defeating narratives will come crashing down when you start to succeed. And at your hungriest moments, the days where you struggle with the most temptation to eat and to splurge and to binge out and let yourself go and to drink, those are the days where you're going to get the best karmic payback, and you're going to get stronger from them if you survive them. Very difficult to remember. Your old life and habits will not let you go lightly. It's like making a deal with the devil, so to speak. It's not going to be like, hey, we're cool, right? No, we had a deal. And that's the way it is with all deals. You've got to pay that back, and that's tough. But now you're going to break a contract. You're going to cut up your proverbial credit card, and you're going to say, I'm not going to do that anymore. And you're not going to get mind-psyched. You're not going to get psyched out and allowed to fail. But if you fail to recognize cardinal principle number 9, you will be blindsided, and you will fall right back behind the wall that you've set up for many years that you've been failing at. This concludes our presentation, friends. I really hope that this has been beneficial. In conclusion, watch out and learn how to spot limiting beliefs quickly, because those are the things that will create the barriers we've talked about. Spot poverty habits quickly, because when you start to think, oh, I deserve more, this isn't right, that's and sometimes poverty habits disguise themselves as indulgence. That's really indulgence. They don't look like it, though. You say, I need to be entitled to eat more. I need to be entitled to do what I want in life. But that's the poverty habit, the mentality of, I can't waste this, the mentality of, I deserve it. It's really all the same thing that fundamentally disguises as something else. Reflect on these principles, go back on them, and reach out if you need guidance. I am on clarity.fm. I do have an account there. I will link that if you need a little extra help and you would rather do a consult. If not, just email me. And I wish you much success and freedom from suffering on the path.